Wang Ling was an ugly, disgusting, worthless, lonely loser who awakened God's immortal powers to manipulate time and space, even walking out of his mother's womb when he was born. However, the only thing he cared about were ramen noodles, so when a giant frog invaded his city and made him drop his ramen, Wang obliterated the S-rank calamity with a single strike, but kept his abilities a secret to appear ordinary. On his first day of school, 2 of the senior students bullied him for having the lowest force value, and told him to hand over all the money in his pockets. Out of nowhere, however, a streak of fire smashed the bullies down, and the hottest girl of the school, Sun Rong, flew down and made the bullies run in fear. Once they were gone, she tries to tell Wang that she'll always protect him.
What did he say?
Later that day, the principal appeared before everyone to begin the entrance exam for determining their spirit force power, with the highest scores entering the elite class. An ugly-ass loser named Kook Shuin was the first guy up, and when he stepped inside and saw the giant frog in front of him, he fell back. This was the incarnation of the frog Wang defeated all those years ago, but when the guy punched the frog, he realized that his ugly face could have never been the protagonist. One by one, every student got clapped, until Chen Chao appeared, and unleashed the dormant powers into his fist before being knocked away, reaching a score over 900 and getting into the elite class. When Sun Rong's turn came up, she rushed towards the frog and managed to punch it away, becoming the first student to reach a score over 2000. Wang was the last student up, and wanted to try to hide his true power so everyone would think he was normal. But as soon as he stepped into the water, the frog heard the background music, and remembered exactly what happened on that day. When the leader of the mages tried attacking, he slapped him away and came up to burn him to ashes. But in that moment, Wang started walking towards the frog, and with just the backlash of the wind from his kick, he managed to knock the frog unconscious for bothering him while eating noodles. Hearing that same background music again, Wang pretended to try hard. But as soon as he got close enough, the energy from his arms barely moving destroyed the signal, and everyone saw that the frog was knocked out, with Wang's score being too high for the screen to display. However, he didn't even touch the frog, and when the frog started disintegrating, Sun realized that something was off, and Wang noticed that it was playing dead to avoid feeling his pain. The examiner congratulated him on being admitted into the class of the elite, and when the first class began, the teacher showed them the spirits that they'll be bringing out from other dimensions using their force level. Chen decided to show off his powers. After everyone clowned on him, Sun summoned a stray dog, but wondered just how much power she needed for an actual spirit beast. The teacher wondered why Wang's lonely ass was just sulking in the corner, so he decided to also give it a try. But when he felt all the aliens surrounding him, a giant explosion went off, and the frog from the exam wondered why the f*** he was seeing his ugly face again. To save everyone, the teacher casted Sun's dog towards the frog, transforming him into a puppy, and Sun asked him if he liked peanut butter. However, Wang knew how this would end and tried sneaking out of class. After all, he's been alone his entire life, because even when his father waited for him to be born, he saw the nurse leaving the exploded delivery room in tears. However, his son wasn't dead, and he saw Wang had walked out of his mother's womb like a giga chat. Every single day, he would sit and read the mind of his parents as they would constantly lie to each other, and bothered him with all their arguments. So to save their marriage, he used his infinite brain cells to think of all of the billion outcomes in this world, and decided to piss himself in front of them. This was how his piss saved his parents' marriage, and as days passed, he was capable of manipulating gravity itself. But by the age of 6, he had already gained the ability to destroy calamity-ranked monsters, so his father began experimenting on him until he developed a secret seal to hide Wang's limitless powers. But even then, it wasn't enough to prevent him from nearly breaking the bowl by just touching it, so his mother would constantly give him her golden orbs to suppress his spiritual powers. And even though his parents loved him, they wished to find a way to help him live an ordinary life. Because even for simple things like blowing out his candles, he burnt down their entire home. And when he was 10, his friends nearly touching him knocked them all out. However, for the first time in 10 years, he realized that his parents had been actually struggling to give him a good life. So until they found a way to suppress his powers, he decided to avoid anything that would stir his emotions, except for ramen noodles. At school, he saw that ramen was on sale today, and a random man bought the entire store, saying that he'll gladly give them all they wanted as long as they vote Sun as president. All of the guys were angry that she would steep that low for some votes, but Wang told her that he'll give her 5 of his votes for the 5 ramen noodle packs, and she wondered why his ugly ass was the only one helping her. After receiving the noodles, all the other guys realized that they could get free food by just voting for her, but Chen swore that he'll beat her. Seeing how everyone fell for her trap, she casted her art of seduction to control everyone's minds, but realized that Wang was missing from among them. The only thing left over was his golden pill, as he wanted to pay her back for the noodles she gave him. When class started, Sun noticed that Wang was still unaffected by her spell, but even after trying to overpower him, he wondered if she ever got the pill. As he signaled for her to give him the golden pill back, she thought he wanted her to eat his nice round ball. So she decided to eat it to increase her powers. At that moment, he realized she was screwed, and her body started feeling like it had fallen from the sky. The spell of seduction broke away from everyone, and the teacher called Sun to come up and demonstrate her art of seduction. But as she walked forward, she slipped on a can and nearly fell, but Wang had to show off that he was the protagonist of this anime. However, he was no simp and just dropped her body to the floor, breaking the seduction spell off everyone. Before the class was over, the teacher announced that Chen was the president of their grade, and as Wang walked away, he knew that those gestures were definitely a secret technique of unleashing some overpowered abilities. Later that night, Sun wondered why Wang's ugly ass destroyed her spell after supporting her at the shop, but wished he would leave her mind already. The following morning, Chen had brought his giant cauldron for the pill refinery test, and thought that Sun would definitely fall for his giant cauldron. However, his friend knew that he was definitely overcompensating for something, and when she arrived in her limo, she somehow had an entire fucking band serenading her entrance along with 30 bodyguards.
You're a victim.
Realizing he can't let his girl get stolen, he decided to play the greatest game ever made, Blue Protocol Star Resonance, an anime-style MMORPG game set in the world of Regnus, the sponsor of today's video. If you enjoy open-world fantasy with explorable regions that feature natural environments, and you'd love to customize your character's appearance based on your personal preferences, then Star Resonance is the perfect game for you. Because in this gameplay, you'll be diving into a world where you are the star, crafting a look and a personality that suits you, and even a story that is uniquely yours. With insane customization options and a range of activities to participate in, you'll forget you're playing a game, but actually living it, all of which makes this an MMO that truly captures the anime spirit. At launch, you'll be able to choose from multiple classes, each with talent trees, skill sets, and equipment that shape your playstyle. And beyond the main story, you can go on side quests to increase experience and receive rewards, including 5-player dungeons and large 20-player raids. In addition, you can join a guild and participate in weekend guild hunts against world bosses, unlocking shared perks and enjoying upgrades. You'll receive a personal island and house from the onset, customizable inside and out, and can share with up to 4 friends. Star Resonance is available on both PC and mobile devices, so what are you waiting for? Click the link in my description to begin your incredible journey, and check my pinned comment for an exclusive code that'll help you accelerate your start. But make sure to use it fast because there will be a limited amount of them to redeem. Download now and join me in this fantastical world of Star Resonance, because while we'll be dominating this incredible universe, Chen will remain an ugly, disgusting loser who wasn't even wanted by his lifelong crush.
Damn.
With a single glance, Wang saw she had been seduced by him, so he used all of his Giga Chad energy to come and brushed her face. But he broke all laws of physics and snapped the status effect out of reality. They wondered if this was the new red pill guru method he was practicing, and Sun climaxed after the Riz Lord destroyed her ability to stand. At class that day, the teacher Speed ran the way to create a golden pill, but not a single one of the students knew how they were going to pass this class. Chen started shoveling the dirt he was going to bury Wang with, while Wang straight up used a microwave to refine the ore. Hao wondered how he was ever going to compete, but showed off his own magical furnace. Sun wished she could get something like that one day, but after giving attention to another guy, Chen's cauldron exploded in his face, and the simp ran away crying. Once he was gone, the teacher told them that they would wait 7 hours until the ores were done refining, but after leaving the class, Wang's dog was ready to devour Hao's cauldron. However, Wang managed to make it before anything happened, but after his frog leaped out of the window, he tried chasing it. But that was all part of his plan to juke his ugly ass out. As he turned back, he saw that Wang was right behind him, and he begged him for mercy. Meanwhile, Chen was still running in tears, because not only could he not get a girl, but he knew that his dad would execute him for destroying their sacred family treasure and not getting first place. At the same time, Wang left with Hao's furnace, but Hao wondered why the fuck he was trying to steal it, and aimed his paintball weapon at him. Wang told him that he wasn't looking for any trouble, but Hao told him to explain what he was doing before he sends him into another isekai world. Just then, Chen's mind broke down, and he saw the way Sun ran towards her new daddy. The demons inside of him erupted, calling him a pathetic, worthless loser. And as his crush walked away with Wang, Chen became determined to eliminate the evil separating them. Hao said it was over for his worthless face and shot his poison weapon, but Wang dodged it at the last instant, and Chen swallowed all of Hao's sticky liquid. Hao started screaming because he didn't say no homo. They tried dragging his body back into the room, and they wondered if he would survive drinking all that poison. Knowing they could get expelled, Hao begged Wang to create an antidote, so they started gathering all the ingredients and fired up his cauldron with a 4-hour timer. However, they realized the instructor would come back in 2 hours, and Froggy was back to trying to eat the cauldron, but Hao released his magic seal on Froggy to cast him aside. When he went to check if his furnace was okay, they realized that Froggy's fire had actually sped up the process, so they decided to put Froggy down and began forcing him to release his powers. Wang wondered why he was keeping this power hidden, so Froggy told him that his powers of manipulating timelines would destroy the world, but both of them knew they could use it to their advantage. Once the antidote was done, they forced the poor doggy to drink the poison to test a pill on him. No animals were harmed in the making of this video, at least not any that you should care about.
Damn!
They tried feeding Chen the pill, but Hao started hearing the instructor's footsteps, so he ran outside to try and delay them. However, the teacher wasn't dealing with his bullshit, and when they entered the room, the teacher was ready to see whether his furnace actually refined any orbs. Hao begged her not to expel him, but she saw that he had actually refined one of the orbs, and Hao realized that Wang sacrificed his own pill for his friend. But just then, it was his turn, and the teacher screamed at him for creating explosives. Seeing how Wang replaced Chen's orb into his microwave and sacrificed his own grade for his friends, made him realize that Wang was the greatest friend in this world. But what he didn't realize is that Wang actually didn't do shit, because when washing the furnace, the pill had been there all along, so they cooked it without either one of them knowing. His microwave was as useless as he was, but nothing was as useless as the cauldron carrying Chen, except maybe for Chen's face. By the time he woke up, he saw that his furnace was repaired, and Hao told him to thank Wang for all his hard work, sparking a bromance between the two new butt buddies. When school was over the next day, Sun began approaching her useless, ugly, disgusting, worthless prey. But instead of being the hunter, she was actually the one being hunted. Without any hesitation, she asked Wang if he wanted to go on a date tomorrow, but Wang stared at her with the same worthless face as always. At the same time, the hunters were given the order to shoot Sun, but as soon as they shot, Wang deflected their shots back with a single stare. Poor fucking simp. The teacher called Wang out of the class, and she wondered why he was avoiding her. At the same time, the snipers decided to fall back at their boss's command, and Froggy saw everything from the distance. Sun thought that Wang said yes to her date when he was just saying yes to the teacher, so she was excited to go on a date with him tomorrow. The entire school wondered how his ugly, worthless face got a girl, because if an ugly guy like him can get girls, why do all of them run away from me? A hot bunny girl thought things were going to get interesting. At the office, the principal asked the teacher to leave right away, and the principal introduced himself as Ju, the man who witnessed his ability to defeat the frog all those years ago. He got on his knees and begged him to become his master, but Wang released 50% of his magic of forgetting. When he was finally alone, Froggy told him about the assassins. While he slept, he kept having nightmares about Sun's crazy ass, but when he got out of bed with his bunny suit, he saw Sun waiting for him outside of the window with her entire army, and wished that he would just die already. Neither one of his parents would have normally agreed to this, but they thought their son would never bring a girl home, so they begged him to bring protection. His father wondered how Wang was born when he always used protection, but his mom told him to not worry about the details. On the phone, he saw all his friends wishing him to have the greatest night of plot development. Without even realizing it, his parents shoved him outside, and Sun told him that he can do anything he wants in the back.
What do you mean by that?
As they drove away, the assassins continued tailing them, and Sun told him that she was taking him to the Heavenly Paradise Carnival. That entire castle was built for Sun to spend her time there with the one she loves, and she confessed that it was her first time visiting this place. Wang wondered why he was stuck with her ugly ass, but she laughed because his face was even worse. As soon as they arrived, she told all the guards to piss off because Wang was stronger than all of them. But just 5 minutes later, all of the guards were neutralized by the assassins. Before a prophecy wall, Sun dragged him to find out the future of their relationship, and the assassin fired his bullet at that instant. However, Wang slowed time down to find the bullet, and caught it with his mouth, launching the bullet right back at his gun and sending him flying. She wondered what type of neurological disorder he had, but he men in blacked her ass,
Pause.
and she forgot seeing anything. The assassins wondered why these guns had more recoil than CSGO. As they glided across the steel while being followed, Wang exploded the assassins behind them, and while he tried to get her a gift, he made all the logs fall on top of them and erased her memories. When they were about to take another ride, the Wizard of the Oz snapped his finger to make the stone fall on top of them. By the end of the night, the assassins wondered what the f*** was going on with their luck, and Sun asked him if he would enjoy riding a Ferris wheel with her while they set off the fireworks. And after agreeing, he thought he would finally get a moment of peace with her, but the assassins hopped behind them. Ju saw that his master was in trouble and called for backup, and as the couple went up the Ferris wheel, the fireworks began going off in the distance. While he was distracted, the assassins held their gun up to him and Sun, forcing them to sit next to each other. Even though his life was in danger, he was glad that Sun's loud ass mouth was finally shut off for a few seconds. Sun begged them to let her friend go, but after hearing her call him his friend, she began crying and begged him to leave. However, he stood up with his gleaming eyes and used the force to throw his comrade away. When the other begged for his life, he sent him flying away as well, with a giant phoenix coming from the sky to eliminate him at that moment. As the fireworks went off, Wang made her promise to keep it a secret between them, and used 100% of his promise magic, sealing away Sun's memories of this night rather than erasing them. It was the first time in his life he wanted someone to know who he truly was, and this was the beginning of their new relationship. As the fireworks continued going off in the distance. The following day at school, the teacher told Sun that the hitmen who attacked her in the park were still alive, and were beginning to cook up a new plan. However, when Sun told him that she had no memories of the attack, Shui arrived, saying that he had eliminated them himself. In the previous night, after the couple returned from the Ferris wheel, Wang had watched her leave before casting a spell on Jui, making him believe that he had defeated the hitmen himself. As Jui showed them a letter, he told them that assassins intend to invade the school to capture Sun. With a snap, the gates were immediately sealed up and soldiers barricaded the premises. However, inside the schoolyard, a golden phase ninja called Zhu Feng emerged out of the ground and knocked out a security guard with a rubber chicken before pounding another. After that, he bumped two others together and jumped into a bush before pulling another inside and leaving several bodies piled up. Inside the hallway, a new golden phase ninja called Su Ying arrived and blew them out of the window. However, he managed to dodge a chalk attack that pierced the wall and cracked it like a hammer. As the teacher appeared before him, he told him that he would squash him like an ant. Meanwhile, Wang was informed that he had won a free delivery pack of noodles. Hoping to claim his gift, he decided to head outside. At the same time in the hallway, the teacher began evading a weapon, but with the ninja determined to prove himself, he launched the weapon and threw another. Using a spell, he caused them to expand and erupt into an explosion, but the teacher crushed a spiked ball easily, and called Zhu Ying a worthless, disappointing ninja, who brought a useless weapon into a real battle. As he began to approach him, Xin Ying cast a toxic burst and ran off using the distraction, but bumped into the door as Wang stepped out of the office and merely walked away. In the meantime, Zhu Feng had eliminated another set of security, but as he tried leaving, he saw the dog standing before him. As he tried to play with it, it bit his hand, so he threw it far away, but realized that it had drained his spiritual force. At that instant, his body began to wither, and a giant frog emerged before his eyes. As it prepared a mighty blast, Zhu Feng tried running away, but his spine cracked, allowing the frog to vanquish him in that instant. Meanwhile, a third ninja called Zhu Jian appeared in the school, and was accumulating a powerful force to destroy the premises. With his cloak of invisibility, he thought that he could never be found. However, Wang appeared outside, having come to claim his gift, and told Zhu Jian that he could see him as clearly as the sun. After the city heroes scanned his box, Wang finally received his gift. But while returning with his noodle pack, Zhu Jian tried saying that he had not seen him. But Wang called him a useless loser, and said that his face smelled like piss. Desperate to spare his blushes, Zhu Jian unleashed a mighty spell that spread across the school, and as his hammer oozed with a great power, he raised it high and smacked Wang. But it merely broke, and the moron realized that his face truly smelled like piss before breaking down on his knees. As Wang began pulling him away, Zhu hurried to him, telling him that he would not forget him this time. But Wang cast a new spell on him, making him believe that he had executed the ninja. By the time Wang's friends arrived, Wang pretended to be sick, so Zhu told them that he was wounded during the attack and needed to be treated immediately. All throughout the following week, Wang pretended to remain sick and laid in bed all day so that he wouldn't have to go to school because he was a lazy, useless kid. When his friends arrived to see him, Sun tried to give him a huge injection, but he told her that he was recovered and hurried out of the bed. Before long, they sat at the table together and decided to take their spiritual power test to measure their abilities. Chen decided to give it the first shot, and as he summoned his spiritual force, a powerful light ball appeared before them as a measure of his total spiritual strength. Meanwhile, in another high school, a group of students were taking the same test. As Liang Zheng summoned his own spiritual force, he was scored 1950 by the system. And the students thought he was a useless loser, so their leader Tang decided to show his own ability. As he drew his spiritual force, a powerful breeze blew across the room, and his number continued to rise on the system until he was raised to first position, and the students began cheering for him. On the other hand, Guo only managed to summon a tiny ball and tried hugging the ground as a punishment, but Chen restrained him. Sun suggested taking her own test another time, as she was afraid of wrecking the house. But the boys were eager to see her powers and managed to persuade her. By the time she was done, the system raised her to second position. When it was Wang's turn, he realized that he had no time to prepare himself for the test, and thought of using his littlest spiritual force to keep his full abilities hidden. However, as he began to summon his powers, the force of it nearly blew everyone away, and he barely managed to teleport the sun he created outside the Earth's orbit. By the time he was done, the system revealed that his score was uncountable, and decided to put him in first place. At the same time in the opposing school, they noticed that Wang had taken first place on the test board, and thought the system was having a glitch because they could not believe the score with their own eyes. As his friends began to leave, Wang overheard Guo saying that he intends to hack the system, so that he would increase his low score. That night, as Guo tried hacking the system to reduce Wang's score, he decided to summon a password formation scroll. As the scroll appeared before him, he cast a spell around the room, hoping to find the password. By the time he was done, he realized that the password remained invisible, and angrily threw off his book. But Wang told him that the password was just 8 stars, and his dumbass actually unlocked the computer. At the opposing school, Tang and another student had also hacked the system. However, they discovered that they could not find his score, and that a new hacker had infiltrated the system. At the same time, Guo noticed that Tang was in second place, and remembered that he used to bully him a few years ago. But at that moment, the system alarm was triggered, and the students tried quitting before they were discovered. However, a group of students entered the room, and realized that Tang's name had been changed on the system, but they thought that he had done it himself and told him that he was a worthless loser. A few weeks later at the school, the teacher told the instructor that he intends to send Wang and his friends to a swords competition with the opposing school. They had lost the competition for 13 years in a row, and the teacher was hoping that Wang would be their good luck charm, who would finally help them to win gold medal. However, when the instructor told them that they needed to send 5 students out for the competition, Zhu told her that the dog would fill in for the 5th position. As she wondered how the beast would compete without a humanoid form, Zhu commanded the beast to turn. At once, it transformed into a faceless human, but returned to the dog form when they were too disgusted to look at its face. However, she still thought that the dog would not be allowed to compete since it didn't partake in the spiritual force test. Hoping to make up for their blunder, Zhu wore the armband on the beast, and promised to free the frog spirit if it managed to win the competition. To prove his determination, the beast scored 5,000 points and was raised to second place. That evening, after school was over, the boys told Sun goodbye and began to head home. But that night, the teacher decided to inform them that they would be representing the school at the swords competition, and told them to prepare their spiritual sword for the fight. so the students began to display their special swords. When they were done, they realized that Wang had not revealed his own sword. As he went into the basement to retrieve his sword, the spirit of the sword emerged from the box, but he dipped it inside. The following day, he decided to show his friends his sword, but they thought it was too short and would be weak in a battle. As the teachers arrived, they told them that they would be staying at the opposing school until the contest began, and would be allowed to train with their swords. At that moment, the bus arrived, so they started heading inside. Meanwhile, the leader of the ninjas was watching them across the street, and began to trail them as they departed, hoping to finally capture Sun. Inside the bus, Wang's spirit tried coming out, but he continued pushing it inside, afraid that the sight of it would scare everyone off the bus. When they arrived at the opposing school, they were welcomed by the director Zai and a few competing students. However, with Zai and the instructor being mortal enemies, Zai ignored her and began telling Sun that she was delighted to meet her. However, when the instructor called her students useless little trash who were too twisted for their own good, Zai thought of repaying her harsh words and blasted a light straight into Wang. At once, he fell to the floor, pretending to be hurt, but his spirit appeared before him once more and warned him about his amulet. Before he knew it, it exploded into the biggest fiery blast that anyone has ever seen, rising high towards the sky and blowing everything in sight with a ferocious wind, while a mighty flame continued burning until it vanished from the amulet. Weakened from the eruption, Wang asked the spirit why he had not warned him earlier, but the spirit told him that he had silenced him from talking inside the bus. As Sun and the instructor tried to help him, they began to wonder what triggered the eruption, and even Zai was confused at the sight of Wang becoming sick, because her blast was only meant to test his abilities. After Wang was carried off into the school, Sun tried joining him, but Tang stood in her way. He asked if she remembers his face, but she thought he was too ugly and disgusting to remember. However, when he refused to leave, she tried to punch him, but was caught by Tang's partner, Yisha. Tang told Sun that they intend to eliminate Wang before the competition began. At that instant, Wang's body began to burn from a mysterious flame, so Zai appeared and bound him with a wrapping spell. Angered by the sight of this, Sun drew her sword, but as she tried to isekai Tang, the teacher caught her blade and told her to control her emotions. Inside the medical room, when the staff tried to treat Wang, they discovered that he had mysteriously vanished. Meanwhile, Wang was trying to find his way out of the school. He used a flash trick to suppress his amulet, but was afraid that his powers would erupt at any moment, so he called his father and told him that his power seal was starting to break. Immediately, his father readied himself and took off on his light sword, so Wang continued through the school and hoped to find his way out. At the same time, his friends made their way into the school gym. Zai decided to welcome them again, and began telling them the rules of the swords competition, saying that the team with the highest score would be crowned winner. However, when Guo pointed out that his ugly team of bullies were also a man short, a wave started rising towards them and nearly drenched their clothes as a mysterious dude appeared before them. In a flash, he whisked to Sun and offered her a rose, but she told him that the rose was as ugly as his horrendous face. Hoping to impress her, Bufeng said that Zai hired him to crush their team, but was willing to switch sides in exchange for a one-night stand. With Chen having desired a one-night stand of his own, his anger began to grow, and he tried punching Bufeng but was blown away. However, he decided to return again, but Bufeng punched him away and flew at him with a kick before knocking him around like a useless doll and pounding him to the ground. However, Chen rose through the smoke and was determined to fight once more. As he oozed with a flaming aura, he charged once more, but Bufeng dodged him and caused his hand to vanish before throwing him away. Luckily, Wang caught him, and Chen realized that his hand had been restored in that instant. So he flew with a punch, but Wang stood his ground and merely walked away from him. When they returned into the school, Wang revealed that he intends to find some limited crispy noodles because he could never have enough of it. However, Jiang Liuyun, who was the leader of the assassins, was spying on them and waiting for her moment to attack. As Bufeng appeared behind her, he demanded to know who she was, so she told him that she was in the cleaning department. He thought she was the worst liar the world has ever seen and wondered if she fell from the ceiling. Even still, he thought she was the new Mona Lisa and offered her roses for another one-night stand. But she smacked it away, calling him a brokey who deserved no pussy. Looking to even the score, he told her that her face was so ugly he would rather wank forever than sleep with her. But she punched him with an invisible blow and said that he would never recognize true beauty even if it truck-cooned him in the face. Delighted to take on the challenge, he began to rise with a dark aura and was ready to squash her with his great power. As he summoned a dark energy, Hoping to pulverize her, she squeezed it and made it vanish in an instant. At the same time, Wang was returning with his crispy noodles when he came across Liang, who was about to annihilate Bufeng. Before anyone knew it, she had captured him and tossed both of them away, having bound them in immortal ropes. As an old dude appeared beside her, she wondered if they were better off throwing Wang down the roof, but the man began to pull Bufeng instead. Wang's amulet tried unleashing from the chain, and the sword spirit started warning Wang about the impending destruction, as lightning flew across the sky and fierce wind blew the surrounding trees. However, when Wang failed to regain consciousness, the spirit screamed at him, saying that free noodles were being served inside the school, and after hearing that, Wang returned to his senses. The old man gave Liu Yun a piece of Bufeng's hair, as she was looking to infiltrate the school with a disguising spell. Inside the school, Zai and the instructor were debating over whose face was uglier. All of a sudden, Bufeng entered the office and told them that Wang had been abducted. But they did not realize that this was actually Liu Yun, who had transformed into Bufeng using a disguising spell. On the rooftop, the man told Bufeng that Liu Yun merely intends to borrow his form for a few hours before executing him. Desperate to change his luck, Bufeng offered to join their faction and asked to be released, but the old man told him that he was too moronic for his own good. However, when he decided to call the man a spineless weakling who could not face off with him on his worst day, the man cast a piercing light into the ground before him, and Bufeng shit his pants, realizing his man plot was nearly fried like bacon. He had not realized that the old man was an overpowered spiritual infant, who could vanquish him in a snap. At the same time, fake Bufeng continued his crap story on how he managed to escape, while Wang was dragged away by Liu Yun. Hearing his words, Jui told them that Liu Yun was the leader of the Shadow faction who were trying to eliminate Sun. At Tang's command, Isha began to scan for the presence of other spiritual force within the school. After she discovered their whereabouts, Sun's security snuck up on her and bundled her away, determined to keep her away from the threat. The head security told them that Sun's safety was their priority, and that her annihilation would render them all useless and without a job. However, Sun returned, having knocked out the useless moronic security. She told them that Wang was the love of her life, and that she could never abandon him for all the money in this world. She said that she didn't give two shits about Liu Yun, but only cares to have the love of her life by her side once again, because she was starting to dream about their wedding together. On the rooftop, as the man was ready to end Bufeng, he began to scream for help like a hopeless, useless child who had already wet his pants. The man raised his foot and shook the building with a stump, leaving Bufeng unconscious. At the same time, Sun and her security began charging towards the building, and watched as Wang was raised up on a cross. As the security flew closer on their light sword, they tried evading several blasts, and one tried to unleash his magic but was blown up instantly. Before the others drew closer, a light beam vanquished them, creating flaming balls in the sky. Looking to reveal his own power, the old man directed a light towards the skies that spread into a great circle, and began summoning a mighty army of yellow knights. But as they started charging forward, Sun cast a direct light that destroyed the circle. As she stood midair with swords around her, she slashed the knights and tried paring flaming swords, but the old man thought she would soon meet her doom. Before long, she was caught in a mighty force and began falling towards the ground, but Wang snapped back to reality after predicting the future. After he watched Bufeng get knocked into the lower floor, he decided to free himself, but made Jui take the credit for saving him. When support arrived, one of them asked Wang if there was any missing people, but he told them that there was none. He hoped to keep Bufeng away until he was cancelled from participating in the competition, so he told his sword spirit to keep him hidden until he was removed. However, the following day, as they were ready for the competition, Wang saw fake Bufeng on the queue and thought shit had gone south. After the instructor announced the start of the competition, the students started vanishing into the crystals. Wang's father began to rush in, hoping to change Wang's seal before he would vanish, but realized that he was too late as Wang had already disappeared before he arrived. Inside the system world, the opposing team realized that Sun and her group had separated all over the island, hoping to acquire the altars before them. However, when they realized that Wang's presence could not be sensed, Liang Fei offered to destroy him and hurried away. As Liang sprinted through the forest, Guo appeared and decided to follow him, thinking he could take him on. Chen heard from the system that the opposing team had begun to seize the altars. Hoping to level up the score, he tried hurrying towards his own altar, but a cut appeared on his face, and a mighty wind threw the leaves around him. By the time he arrived at the tree, Wondering how he would claim the altar, Yisha appeared behind him, claiming the altar for herself. With Chen ready for battle, he told her to give him his best shot. Before he knew it, he was trapped inside a magical web and started punching himself from Yisha's spell and smashing himself on the ground. At the same time, Fake Bufeng managed to dodge the beast and summoned lightning before charging at the dog with a blow. After realizing that his spiritual force was drained, he narrowly dodged the beast and decided to leave before he lost all his powers. On the other hand, Liang found Wang on the ground and thought that his duty of claiming the altar could not possibly be any easier. However, Wang managed to stand up, so Liang drew his sword and was ready to end him, but as a spell came flying towards him, he slashed it away and discovered Guo before him. Determined to end him, Liang attacked Guo, and they began clashing swords in a tussle of strength. At the same time, Sun tried claiming an altar after realizing that her team was losing. Luckily, she managed to evade a swinging sword, and throwing off her own, it turned into a sword spirit, and Tang appeared before her eyes with his own spirit. Tang tried persuading Sun to dump her team of losers, but she fired a blast at him and directed her spirit forward. But as she rose as a water dragon, Tang's spirit slayed it in that instant. As he reformed, Sun Xiang realized that the opposing team had acquired another altar. Sun wondered how Tang was able to see every part of the entire island, so he told her that they had hacked into the system prior to the competition and were able to utilize the site. At that instant, Sun discovered that Chen had been defeated and that his altar had been acquired by the opposing team. She dissolved her spirit back into the sword and was ready to charge at Tang. However, she realized that Tang had unleashed his snow powers and began to cast a ground of ice across the waters. With her time running out, Sun flashed towards him, breaking through the ice, but Tang's spirit cast a great wind to blow her off. However, she managed to throw in kunais before charging into a sword battle while flipping and jumping over the ice and continuing onto a bridge with a determined and relentless onslaught. In an instant, the ice exploded around Sun, and Fake Bufeng appeared before her eyes. As he summoned a dark orb, ready to eliminate her, a mighty wind began to blow around the island, and the men realized that there was a greater enemy around them. But Sun had escaped using the distraction. With no other challenger, Tang decided to stick his sword into the altar, but when he looked at the scoreboard, he realized that Sun's team were starting to take back the altars. However, before this turn of events, Guo and Liang had grown exhausted from their battle, and Guo had run out of spells. Liang began to approach him, and kicked Wang for being too useless to fight. Angered by this, Guo began to unleash new spells, but Liang slashed them away. However, Guo was relentless, and continued unleashing spells like his life depends on it. His passion inspired Wang, and his powers burst out of him. Realizing its opportunity, the beast rushed towards him and began to suck on the energy, hoping to restore its own powers. However, Wang had intentionally exposed himself, having known already that his powers would eventually be freed. With the dog helping to consume his negative energy, Wang's powers burst to life, and he began to merge with the dog. But Liang thought he was a loser and started laughing at him for having a useless head. Wang approached him, and with a flick, he caused his sword to crumble, and as he touched his shoulder, he blew him far away into the sky. With their enemy gone, Wang was able to reclaim the altar, and before long, he arrived at a new altar and found Chen passed out on the ground. As he woke him up, Chen thought there was a new enemy before him and prepared himself for another battle. But Wang merely left him and stuck his sword into the altar. While Chen was celebrating their success, the system announced that the opposing team had reacquired their altar, and Wang realized that their only chance at winning was by securing the altars at the same time. Immediately, he burst with a mighty flame, ready to reach all the altars at the same time with his lightning speed. However, Sun stopped him over the device and told them that Guo had abandoned his post when two opponents ambushed him. Chen wondered why he had not fought back, but Guo told him that he was a useless fatso who had no place on the battlefield. Sun told the boys that their only hope of winning the contest was by seizing all the altars at the same time, and that they had to protect it for a few seconds until they were declared the winning team. Before long, Sun and Guo started heading towards a new altar, with Sun serving as his skateboard, before launching him far off to the cave. As he landed, he began to tease the opponent before him, telling him that his father was a simp. At the same time, Sun was trying to sneak towards the altar. When the dude realized that it was a distraction, he tried hurrying to the altar, but Guo unleashed a spell at him. Luckily, he stumbled, and the spell flew at Sun, knocking her away from the spot. As Sun tried to recover, Tang appeared and screamed at his partner to secure his post. So he started running towards it, with Sun hoping to reach it before him. Guo summoned large rocks from the ground, desperate to stop him. but he fought his way through and drew his blade. So Sun summoned several blades and launched them at him. But when she tried utilizing his distraction, Tang's sword spirit flashed in and destroyed the swords before her eyes. Realizing she could not fight her way through, she decided to retreat. As Tang appeared before her, he called her a failure, saying that her plans had failed before it even began. But Guo decided to join her for support. With the opposing team close to retaking the remaining altars, Sun realized that their only hope of staying in the competition was by claiming this altar for her team. On the other hand, Fake Bufeng began approaching Chen and was looking to claim his altar, but Chen began to evade his dark orbs, hoping to stall him until the competition was over. As Fake Bufeng grew angry, he tried teasing Chen, calling him a useless weakling from a simp father. However, Chen refused to fight back, causing Fake Bufeng to grow angrier. But as he tried revealing a new power, the dark orbs began to absorb the leaves. In that instant, he unleashed them with a mighty wind, but Chen managed to block them with his sword, while the rest ripped at his body. At the cave, Sun told Guo to retreat as she intended to face off with Tang on her own. Tang began to tease her, telling her to surrender her useless team of losers, but she was determined to prove herself, and told him that his mom was a loser. As she clashed swords with his spirit, Guo began to summon the power of his blade. But Tang's spirit started vanishing like a ghost, before knocking her back. With Sun having grown exhausted, Tang told her to surrender, saying that her team were a bunch of horrendous losers. Before he knew it, a flaming bird appeared before his eyes, with Sun having sacrificed her sword spirit to unleash the power of Guo's blade. Hoping to vanquish it, Tang directed his spirit towards the flames, but it was consumed in an instant. With the boys still in shock, the fires blew them away and erupted into an explosion. Meanwhile, at the tree, Chen had grown exhausted from all the attacks. Even still, when Fake Bufeng tried to claim his spot, he held him back and was bent on stopping him. But having no more strength, he tried to hold his foot, so the faker began stumping on his face and kicked him away. As Chen tried standing, he realized that he could hardly move. However, he was afraid of disappointing his friends, and with this thought, he managed to rise again with a newfound power and broke the faker's shield before tossing his sword into the ground. Angered by the sight of this, the faker grew tired of staying fake and unleashed her true self as Liu Yun. Meanwhile, Wang was able to claim another altar and began to run off to the next one. When he arrived, he tried stabbing his sword into it, but was afraid that his powers would unleash from all his excitement. However, he managed to stick it inside and began to remember his warm moments with Sun, finally bringing himself to release it. At the same time, the scoreboard moved towards a conclusion. Sun held her hand for support, and love chains restrained his heart from exploding, so he smiled for the very first time. Just then, the system announced that they had acquired all the altars, so Sun told Wang that she was ready to become his wife. But as she let out those words, Liu Ying stabbed her, causing her soul to leave her body instantly. Wang tried to hold her, but she vanished before his eyes, and with this realization, his chains broke in a terrible outburst. As the amulet vanished, Wang tried to punch Liu Yun, but the beast froze time in that instant. However, the time trap began to crack, and the beast realized that Wang was too powerful to be stopped. With a roar, Wang knocked Liu Yun with a fierce punch, so she tried fighting back and cast a ferocious blast at him before hitting him with relentless kicks and following with continued attacks. But he knocked out her teeth with an electrifying blow that nearly launched her off to space. With a mighty roar, he started smacking her around like a useless little doll and took off into the sky with a mightier punch, driving her through a rock. And as she crashed on the ground, he followed up with a vicious blow that destroyed the ground around them. As his eyes glowed like a demon, he launched her off into the sky, and as he summoned rocks around him, he directed them to space and a dark orb exploded before him. Ready to end her, he summoned his own dark orb and flew off. As Liu Yun hit the ground, Wang started descending towards her, and was ready to isekai both her body and soul. However, when she told him that she intends to die anyway, he stopped in that instant. As he remembered Sun, he began to leave, and the darkness started clearing away. But when he tried restoring her, he realized that she was not returning to life. So the dog told him that Liu Yun's blow had broken her spirit and body, and that once she was released from the time freeze, she would pass away instantly. Wang was afraid of losing her, and offered to give up all his powers to have her restored to life. But the beast told him that the only solution was to restart the world, and that his special ability was only to control time. As he let out those words, Wang suggested that they return into the past so that they can change the future. Immediately, he began to summon a great force over the sky, and would not listen when the beast told him that changing the future was against the laws of nature, and that he could lose all his powers as a consequence. As Wang merged with the beast, a powerful light descended from the sky, beginning his time-warping journey. Inside the new world, Wang arrived at school for his first day of the school year, but was stopped by two seniors like in the beginning. However, when they asked for protection money and pushed him away, Wang thought that Sun would come to his rescue again. But Chen punched away a bully and introduced himself. The second bully tried knocking him, but was blasted away by Guo. After Guo introduced himself, Wang tried offering his money, but they declined it. Inside the class, Wang thought Sun was about to look at him and stood excitedly, but the girl was not her. As they returned home from school, Wang saw Sun inside a car and began to chase it. By the time they arrived at a stoplight, Wang hurried to look inside, but discovered that the girl was not Sun. However, Wang had not realized that his spell had created a whole new world, and as he drew power from his lights, rocks began to ascend. Meanwhile, inside the underworld, a man introduced Sun Rung to the Demon Queen, but after realizing she was Wang's lover, she hurried away and promised to return her to life. As she activated her device, Sun's spirit flew into her body and was restored once more. At the same time in the new world, Wang tried telling his friends that he has been on this spot before, and with a special girl too. But Chen told him to quit dreaming because he was too ugly to have any girls. Meanwhile, in the real world, Wang's spirit told Sun that Wang had created a new world, hoping to reunite with her, and that their Earth would vanish if Wang continued draining the planet. So he suggested that Sun try to rescue him before it was too late. In the meantime, Wang was riding on the Ferris wheel with his friends, but was sad that Sun was not by his side. In the real world, as Sun readied herself for the rescue, the spirit transformed into the sword. As she rushed forward, she flew high and began to dodge all the blasts coming her way until she managed to stab Wang, freezing him from his enchantment. When he saw her flower in his hand, he told his friends that he had to return to his reality. Just then, the enchantment broke, and Sun was able to pull Wang outside, as they finally reunited. When they returned into the past, Chen was facing off with fake Bufeng, and tossed his sword by his side. However, when the system announced that Sun's team were starting to take the lead, Liu Young grew tired of hiding and burst out to end Chen. But a sudden force from Wang eliminated her, so he stuck his blade into the altar, and they were declared the winners. With their victory, Sun began hurrying towards Wang, but a group of reporters appeared to ruin their parade. After Sun had rescued Wang from his enchantment, he realized that he had lost his preparing ability, so the beast told him that it was his punishment for trying to destroy the world. Wang wondered how they could return to their own world, so the dog told them that they could only reverse the time, but said that Sun would lose her memories of this event. Sun thought it was a worthy sacrifice to restore the world, and told Wang that she would always stay by his side forever. Shortly, Wang's father arrived with the amulet, and decided to seal Wang's powers, and with it, his emotions. By the following day, Wang had withdrawn into his usual silence, and was starting to hate his life all over again. When the instructor arrived, she told the students that they would be having another spiritual force test, and that any student who wasn't in the intermediate phase would be expelled from the elite class. Afraid that Wang would fail his own test, Sun hurried to him, and told him to release all his energy inside of her so that he would reach his intermediate phase. But Chen was about to end his life. However, Wang thought he needed to save his strength, and vanished from the class. While inside the restroom, Guo began suggesting that they create foundation pills to enhance their spiritual energy for the test. Afraid of failing like his useless father, he began to beg Wang for his support, so he agreed to help him. When the test was about to begin, the instructor decided to give the students a show of his own spiritual energy. Immediately, dark clouds began to spread above him, and a powerful thunderbolt descended on him, blowing a wind across the field. When the dust began to clear, the teacher told them that the only way to pass the test was to survive the thunderbolt. After the first student was toasted by lightning, Sun thought Wang would suffer the same fate, and noticed that he was nowhere in sight. At the same time, inside a class, Guo was secretly cooking the foundation pills. When he realized that the instructor was heading towards them, he began to freak out, so Wang doused him with a bucket of water. By the time the instructor arrived, they decided to pretend like they were drying their wet clothes, but she began to scream at them, threatening to kick them out of the school if she caught them cheating. Guo told her that they had fallen into a pool and were merely trying to dry up their clothes. However, she thought that Guo was a useless liar and decided to look for herself. As she began approaching him, the dog lunged at her, but she knocked it away. However, when she looked inside the furnace, she saw stinky crusty socks inside, and didn't want to know what was inside of them. With the boys alone again, Wang wondered where Guo had hidden the pills, so he told him that he had swallowed them. At that instant, he began to burn with a great power as the pills were starting to digest inside of him. As his powers grew out of control, he began to expand like he was about to blow up. But Wang struck him, and he flew across the room, deflating like a useless little balloon. By the time he woke up, he discovered that he was being summoned for his test, so he hurried off, hoping to utilize his cheating pills. However, he soon realized that the pills had been fully ruined and had lost their enhancing ability. Luckily, as he tried unleashing his power, his spiritual energy drew a powerful lightning that he managed to resist. When it was Wang's turn, the teacher gave him a helmet, expecting that he would be scorched to crisp. But as Wang summoned his own power, a great cloud began to stretch across the yard and a thunderbolt descended on him. As the cloud began to stretch over the city, a terrible wind blew everything in sight. With the city about to be destroyed, the teacher tried pulling the plug of the device, but the lights started going off around the city, and the spiritual force in the universe continued dropping. As the students joined the teacher to pull the plug, Wang decided to throw his sword towards Sun, and when she caught it, they appeared inside a new world, so he told her to destroy the system with his sword. So she cut the wire with a swing, and a line went through the field, destroying the ground and parting the sea in an instant. As Wang appeared unscathed, the instructor left his floodgate open, wondering if he was from a different planet. However, no one realized that the force from his sword had opened a crack in space, leading into the Hell Dimension where all the beasts waited for this moment. A few weeks later inside the class, the instructor introduced a new student, saying that she was being promoted to elite class for having passed the spiritual energy test. But Wang realized that he had met her in the other world he created for Sun, and began to wonder if both worlds were starting to collide. After the class, the boys came across a mysterious girl in the hallway. Hoping to discover who she was, they decided to follow her. But when they arrived inside a private room, they realized that she had mysteriously vanished. So they decided to snoop around, hoping to discover her whereabouts. However, when Wang told them that someone was heading towards the room, they decided to hide away. Before long, the new girl, Lin, entered the room, hoping for an alone time. When she tried taking off her plot armor, Guo and Chen decided to reveal themselves to her. They tried explaining that they had missed their way, but the girl called them a pair of ugly, disgusting weirdos. As she flung her broom at a statue, it began to spin until the floor opened up, and they fell into the hole. Realizing they were hopeless without him, Wang decided to follow them inside. Meanwhile, in the abyss, the mysterious girl called Yu appeared before her sister Liu Yun. Delighted to see her, Liu Yun told her to set her free immediately, but Yu told her that she came to eliminate her. As she drew her magical bow, she told Liu Yun that annihilating her was her punishment for failing to end Sun, and fired a warning shot that bruised her face. Just then, Wang and the others began falling towards the bottom, and Wang apologized for interrupting their conversation. However, before they turned into pancakes, Wang summoned a hole in the ground which led into a secret chamber. As they began to look around, they spotted the photo of a lady and realized that she was Yu. At the same time in the abyss, Yu began to accuse Liu Yun of stealing her position as the leader of the Shadow faction. 10 years ago, when the demon frog had invaded the city, she was unluckily blown out of her plane and drawn into the portal to work as a hot secretary for the demon lord. She accused Liu Yun of attacking her plane in hopes of stealing her position and separating her from her lover, so she said that ending her would be a fitting reward for her betrayal. But as she fired an arrow, the teacher appeared to save Liu Yun. He told Yu that Liu Yun never attacked her plane, because 10 years ago, when the mystical portal opened over the city, and the demon frog had begun to consume everyone's spiritual force, Wang had appeared to vanquish it with a blast. This blast had blown Yu's plane open. However, before crashing, Wang had saved it with his powers, but Yu was unluckily blown away from her lover and into the portal. Realizing the teacher was her past lover, Yu told him that she has missed him and desires to remain by his side forever. He told her that he has waited for her ever since she vanished and was hoping to develop plot with her all through the night. So they began making out in front of her poor trapped sister, who wished she was dead instead of watching them. At the same time in the chamber, Wang and the others realized that the place belongs to their teacher who had been searching for the love of his life and hoped that he would be reunited with her forever. A few days later, Wang and his friends arrived at a sword shop, hoping to buy a new sword. When they came across Lin, she told them she works in the shop and said that her duty was to maintain the swords. As they watched her do her business, Sun asked if she was an orphan, so she told them that she grew up all by herself and had only her sword spirit as her companion. She said that when she turned 8, her sword spirit had grown tired of seeing her ugly face and had decided to take a break. However, Lin was hoping to see her again, and had taken up the duty of maintaining swords ever since. When they wondered why she had not bought a new sword, she told them that she could not afford one, because she spent all her money on crypto. As she let out those words, Tang appeared before their eyes with his minions, and called her the most useless servant in the world. When Guo asked if they wished to get their ass kicked again, Tang told him that they merely intend to maintain their swords, and commanded his minion to hand it over. With Lin overwhelmed by the number of swords, Sun tried hiring her for the entire day. But Lin was afraid of losing her job, since no one would feed her broke ass if she was fired, so she accepted to maintain the swords. As the group began to leave, Sun suggested that they buy Lin a new sword. But Guo thought she would be too ashamed to accept it, so Wang suggested that they forge her a new one. The following night, they decided to hide inside the store like sneaky little thieves until it was closed up for the day. After realizing they were alone, Wang decided to show them his design for the blade. Before long, they began to run the spiritual items on the system. When they were done, they threw them into the furnace and waited for the sword to cook. The next day, with the group gathered, Sun decided to give Lin the new sword, and Chen said that it was their gift to her. Pleased with this gift, she told them that the sword was the most special weapon she had ever received. However, Tang appeared at that moment, and decided to challenge Lin to a duel. With Wang and his friends having kicked his team's ass in the competition, he was hoping to destroy their friend in return, so Lin accepted the challenge. As they prepared for the duel, Tang drew his sword and summoned his ice powers, before slashing a wood in half. Looking to destroy the girl, he cast a heavy snow towards her and slayed the wood in a flash. But when he tried to end her, she stopped him with her sword. At that instant, they appeared in a mystical dimension, and Tang realized that he was inside the solar system. As Lin's sword came to life, it touched Tang's sword and began to drain his life force, devouring his soul like a useless corpse. But Wang's blade broke his sword, managing to save him before he got isekai'd. The following day at school, Sun met Wang while he was trying to eat his usual crispy noodles, and smacked his head as a sign of a secret love message. But Wang was too moronic to realize his opportunity of getting laid, and merely watched her leave. However, that night, Chen and Guo decided to follow him into the school, hoping to assist him in utilizing this perfectly great chance of renouncing his V card. But Sun was disappointed that she would not have Wang all to herself. As they walked through the school, Chen told the others that he was a fearless son of a bitch, and decided to lead the way to prove his words. However, when he bumped into Lin, he immediately shat his pants and scurried off in fear. Meanwhile, in the abyss, Liu Yun managed to summon Yu's arrow and directed it to start smashing into the chains. Eventually, she tore up the seal and continued the onslaught on the chains until they eventually broke, allowing Liu Yun to gain her freedom. As she wondered how she would escape, she saw a gaping hole in the wall before her and realized that she merely had to swim her way out. At the same time, Guo and Chen finished up their business, but as they began to wonder if a ghost was making the noises, they heard a sound in the restroom, so Guo decided to take a look. Suddenly, water gushed out before him, and Chen passed out after shitting his pants again. When Wang and the girls arrived, he saw Liu Yun as she tried pulling herself out, and immediately flushed her down the drain. With Guo and Chen still unconscious, they decided to lay them in a private room and placed a spell on them to help regain their consciousness. Sun thought that this was her perfect opportunity to have Wang all to herself, but when his sword spirit told him that Liu Yun was trying to escape again, he headed out to look for her. Meanwhile, Liu Yun was inside an elevator and was plotting her revenge on her enemies. However, when the elevator opened, Wang immediately cast her into the ground. But she managed to find her way outside and watched the couple walk through the school. As they stared at a mirror, Sun began telling Wang that the mirror was a mystical portal that led from the human world into a different world, and that it could lead into outer space with the right spell. However, before she could start reading out her love lines, Wang was punched far away into a wall, and Lin appeared before her eyes, having been possessed by a demon. As Sun summoned her sword, Lin bound her with a dark spell, and the moon began to turn red. The demon told her that she intends to open a portal into the demon world, and would seal her inside forever. As the moon became entirely red, the portal opened, leading into the demon world. But as she drew Sun towards the portal, Liu Yun came flying towards them, and was determined to end Sun herself. Luckily, Wang appeared just in time to save her, causing Liu Yun to strike Lin with the deadly blow that knocked the demon into the portal, shattering the mirror instantly. As Liu Yun grew angry at her failure, Wang punched her straight into the wall, silencing her for good. With peace restored, he decided to look at Sun's gift, and was pleased that she was still alive. A few weeks later, Wang and the others arrived at Sun's family home to see her, but noticed that their $1,000,000 farm was starting to waste away. While inside the family cave, Guo decided to ask Sun if her useless father had gambled off their possession at a casino. But she told him that the loss of spiritual energy in the universe had caused their farm to start withering, and said that without the spiritual energy, they were better off abandoning the farm. As Sun's mother appeared, she told them that the farm was a family inheritance and promised to never surrender their attempts of restoring it. Encouraged by her words, Sun's father told them that they would start replanting once the spiritual energy was restored. That evening after dinner, Wang asked Sun how they could restore the farm, but she told him that they were better off abandoning it. She said that the land was beginning to lose its water since the spiritual force started vanishing, and said that once it dried up, their entire farm would never be restored again. She thanked him for his offer to help, but told him that she would rather take care of her own business. That night on the train, while Wang and the others were returning home, they discovered on the news that Sun's family intend to sell off their farm to Tang's useless family, and that Sun and Tang would be signing a blood-borne marriage agreement. With the group in shock, they thought that Sun's family must have been forced into the agreement. Convinced that it would lead to their doom, Wang suggested that they ruin the agreement before it was completed. So the following day, Wang and his friends returned to the family home, ready for battle. When they came across Tang's team, Guo threatened to squash them like plastic cup, but Liang told him that they had returned to avenge their defeat at the competition. As Chen charged at him, a blast went up in the forest. Guo rushed forward and tried to end Zheng, but was trapped in Yisha's spell. Before Liang could end Chen, Lin cast her own spell to free him, allowing him to strike back, while Guo clashed blades with Zheng. With Yisha wondering how the boys were freed, Lin began rushing to her, but she ran off. At the same time, Wang was running towards the cave, hoping to arrive there before the agreement was done. Inside the cave, Tang and Sun were ready to seal the agreement. Immediately, Tang nipped his finger and imprinted it on the paper, telling Sun that he was eager to have her as his new wife. When she tried slitting herself, Wang appeared to stop her and began running off with the love of his life. He told her that he had come to rescue her from the shitty agreement, and said that he wishes to remain with her forever. But as they flew away from the cave, Sun's father appeared outside, telling her that the agreement was their only solution for saving the farm. Hearing his words, Sun withdrew from Wang and told him that she had promised to sign the agreement already. She said that after they left the cave the previous day, Tang's father had arrived and offered to invest in their company in exchange for a blood-borne agreement with Tang, because he was too useless to find himself a wife. Sun's father had agreed with the deal, and her mother had said that it was their only hope for survival. Her father told her that agreeing with the offer would save her broke family from staying broke, and would keep the family in business. Their words had made her realize that her broke family were hopeless, so she told Wang that it was her duty to keep the family together, and said that she was willing to sacrifice her own happiness to marry the evil and disgusting Tang. So she started returning to the cave. As Wang and the others were leaving, he noticed a mysterious presence inside the lake. As he decided to look inside, he suddenly pulled out a giant star worm that had been sucking all the spiritual force around the farm. Determined to impress his crush, Wang tried pulling out the worm, while his friends supported him. As the memories of Sun grew stronger in his mind, Wang released a flame inside it, causing it to rise high into the air. At the same time in the cave, Sun slit herself and was ready to sign the contract. All of a sudden, the worm exploded before their eyes, and water started gushing out of the ground, restoring the farm to life. Tang's father tried persuading Sun to imprint on the agreement, but her security told her that the family's business was starting to boom again, and they realized that Tang's father could go f himself. A few weeks later in the city, Wang and the girls discovered that the streets were overrun with zombies, who had fallen into Sun's love spell after her family's water accidentally leaked into the city's water supply, so they began to sneak away. Before going far, the zombies found them and tried devouring them, but Wang and the girls managed to escape. Realizing they were heading towards a dead end, Wang decided to use his sword as a magical skateboard, and took off with the girls until they arrived on the rooftop. As they looked in the city, they found millions of zombies in the streets, who were trying to climb their way to the top of the building. Just then, Chen appeared in the street, having been caught in Sun Rong's enchantment. As he took off like Flash, he began climbing up the zombies and ran up the walls before flying towards the roof. When he told Sun that he loves her, she called him a broke, ugly moron and said that he was too ugly to be loved by anyone. Her words made him crash on the roof, and they realized that her rejection had broken his spell. Looking to utilize this discovery, she screamed at the zombies below, calling them worthless, disgusting good-for-nothings whose broke asses deserve no love. At that instant, the spell vanished from all the zombies. With the realization that the spell could be easily cancelled, Chen began to wonder how they could free the entire city. So Lin suggested that Sun live streams a video and rejects everyone at the same time, so that they would all be free from her spell. However, when she tried using her phone, she realized that there was no cell reception. As Liu Yun appeared on the cell tower before them, she tried telling them that she had cut off the cell reception, and demanded that Sun surrenders herself to her, but they could not hear her words, and tried warning her about a descending meteorite. Before she knew it, the meteorite appeared above her, and she realized that the universe was certainly against her, and at that instant, she was blown up to smithereens. With the cell tower destroyed, Wang suggested that they travel to space for Sun's live stream. When Lin wondered how they would arrive in space, Wang showed them his tour tickets for a flight to a space station. Shortly, they began flying away on Wang's sword, while the zombies ran after them. As they landed in the city, the zombies began approaching them, so Chen and Lin offered to stay behind and keep them away. Sun thought they would be crushed into bones, and suggested running off together, but Chen promised to hold them off long enough for the couple to escape. At once, Wang took off with her. As they ran into the train, the door shut up just in time, managing to keep the zombies out. As the train took off towards space, the cars began to separate in the air. With Wang and Sun alone in the car, she hoped to hear his love confession. So he began telling her that he has always wished to have alone time with her, and said that he has something important to tell her. Eager to hear the rest of his confession, she told him to confess all his feelings, but he merely told her that he noticed the station was empty and thought that Chen and Lin would have loved the sight of outer space if they had come along with them. Just then, the system announced that they had reached the terminal station. When they arrived inside the station, Sun stepped out into the open and began to make her live stream. As she introduced herself, she began telling everyone that she was born to a loving family and wanted to become the perfect daughter that would make them happy. However, when she got in high school, she realized that she was a screwed up little child who needed to fall in love with a boy and make herself into a future wife. And when her family went bankrupt, she discovered that no one was special and that every good thing comes with a price. Ever since then, she began working to earn her own respect and became determined to never rely on her family's wealth. Although the world finally fell in love with her through her accidental love spell, she said that she doesn't need their love, but only desires Wang's love forever. As she let out those words, the spell began to vanish from everyone. Sun and Wang tried to enjoy the moment, but soon discovered that a powerful meteorite was heading towards the Earth. With Sun afraid that they would all meet their doom, Wang merely drew his sword and flung it at the meteorite, shattering it in an instant as it dispelled into beautiful lights across the sky. With the threat vanquished, Sun suggested that they see other parts of the station. But as they stepped outside, they realized that they had mysteriously transformed into three-dimensional characters. Hoping to discover a way out, Sun launched her sword, but it returned to her, making her realize that they were trapped inside a loop. Wang suggested breaking the wall and cast a guardian light to protect Sun Rong from freezing. However, as he punched a hole into the wall, they discovered that they were inside a spatial cycle. Meanwhile, inside the demon world, the demon's servant told the emperor that he had successfully trapped Wang inside a dimensional seal using the power of the dimensional lamps, and said that the seal could never be broken. At the same time on Earth, monsters began to invade the world. One monster tried to end a man but was blasted away. As Junyi stood before it, he blasted it once more and took off, allowing the monster to chase him. Using a device, he told his men to rescue the people away from the city, but a beast appeared to them and ended them all instantly. At the terminal station, Wang managed to pull up the control panel. With a snap, he transformed them into a polygon form, and Sun looked like the hot chick from GTA. She told him that she likes her new form, and said that it makes her look like a useless video game character. But Wang realized that the Earth was being attacked. Inside the Earth, a large portal appeared over the sky, and dozens of monsters began patrolling the city. The beast told Junyi to surrender, saying that the city was already surrounded and would soon be destroyed, but Junyi said that they would kick their asses back to their useless world. As an old magician walked into a magic circle, he began to summon a mighty thunder over the city, ready to annihilate the monsters. As a lightning descended on him, a powerful light began to spread around him. When the beast tried to crush him, the other magicians supported him, causing the light to blow up at the monster. With the beast defeated, the magicians thought that the battle was over. Before their eyes, another portal opened in the sky, and a demon carrier began descending towards the ground. Looking to destroy it, the old man began to unleash his powers, but the weight of the carrier destroyed the ground under him. As he tried releasing all his spiritual powers, more portals began to open across the cities, and several dozen carriers began to descend, crushing him under all the weight. Thousands of beasts began emerging from the holes and invaded the city. Meanwhile in space, as Sun watched the world being destroyed, she began to wonder if the Earth could be saved. Wang told her that everyone could still be saved. As he returned with a mirror, he told her that the dimensional seal was like a video game, and Sun realized that they could destroy the seal by crushing the dimensional lamps. As Wang began to glow with a powerful light, the flames in the demon world began to burn brighter. Using Sun's spirit cool effect, Wang caused the lamps to start exploding as light spears destroyed them all, until the seal vanished from the terminal station, restoring the couple to their usual form. With the obstacle removed, Wang told Sun to remain at the station while he saves the Earth. She told him that his identity would be revealed to the world, but he told her that saving the world was more important. So he flew off towards the Earth and took down the carriers with a blow. Before he could unleash his powers, a mysterious girl appeared behind him, and they vanished instantly. While inside a train, Wang realized that the girl was Lin, and she told him that she was from the butterfly race, but had watched as her world was destroyed by the Demon Emperor's army. Wang wondered why they had not faced off with him, so she told him that the Demon Emperor was too powerful for anyone to defeat, and said that he has conquered too many worlds to count. Before long, they appeared inside the demon world, so Lin told the demon servant to release her sister who had been captured by them, in hopes of exchanging her for Wang. But the demon forced her to the ground, and called her a useless, disgusting weakling who deserved to be vanquished for being so moronic and gullible. However, when he tried forcing Wang to the ground, he merely stood his ground and cast him into the walls. Impressed with his ability, the Demon Emperor called Wang a worthy opponent, saying that he has never fought an enemy like him in 1,000 years. As he took off into the air, he landed before Wang and demanded to know his name, but Wang told him that he was from class elite of the Songhai faction. Immediately, the Emperor blasted him with a powerful punch, convinced that he was pulverized. But Wang stood before his eyes, unscathed, and told him that he punches like a bitch. Shortly, the demon crashed outside his castle from a devastating blow, so Wang told him that he tried to avoid any battles so that he would not destroy the Earth. Unwilling to surrender defeat, the Emperor took off, destroying his own army, but Wang flew after him. Deciding to fight back, the demon punched him far off, and followed in a color of light before kicking him into a rock. Wang emerged, and they flew around the rock before he evaded a blow from the demon. But he chased him, and they swirled in colorful lights, punching and kicking like sworn enemies, before the demon spun into a mighty blast, determined to crush Wang and swirling around the universe until he became exhausted. Realizing Wang was unscathed, the Emperor wondered who the he was. Wang began to spin him around, and flung him far off into another planet, before he crashed inside his palace. Wang appeared before him, and was ready to end him, but he decided to surrender. In a flash, the Emperor's servant appeared behind Wang, saying that he has discovered his weakness and has been waiting to exploit it. Taking Wang's seal for his strength, he peeled it off, and the Emperor thought that they had won the battle. However, as Wang burst into flame, a blinding light exploded the castle, destroying everything in sight. As it vanquished the planet, magical lights penetrated the Earth, causing the monsters to obliterate. While the skies cleared, the carriers began to vanish, and with the aliens vanquished, the people started celebrating their victory. As it started to rain, the water began to heal their wounds, and the spiritual energy started rising again. Wang appeared inside the Earth with a powerful thunder, and Lin thought that he had come to eliminate her for trying to pass him over to the Demon Emperor. She told him to allow her sister to live, and said that she would face the wrath of his vengeance all by herself. But Wang merely told her to call his father, and tell him to bring a new seal before he destroyed the Earth like the demon world. A few weeks later, another statue was made in honor of Zhui, and the world thought that he was the hero once again. At the same time, they began to rebuild the world, and everyone tried returning to their normal lives. As the group rode inside a train, Guo began to wonder who truly saved the world, but Chen suggested that it was a new mysterious magician. But as Sun tried asking Wang what happened in the war, she saw his ugly, worthless, disgusting face was asleep. but he was glad to finally not hear her annoying ass voice. Watch this next video. Till next time, my fellow legendary plot masters.